Alright guys, I decided it's time to put a new cage on here. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I see other people doing cages, and I've had it on my mind since the time I bought the unit. So, certain things about this cage is cool. This hump in the center, not a big fan of it, but there's ways to eliminate that without butchering the existing cage. So what I'm going to do is just add to it. And let's see what we get into. But while you're at it, if you watched it this far, give me a like, subscribe, tell me you don't like it, whatever. So let's get to the show. First thing I'm going to do is remove the lights. These lights are compliment from Main Street Cycle. Thank you, Steve Crane. No need to bore you with this section. Now I got the lights and the wires all disconnected. It's time to remove the roof. Now let's take the first part of the roof off. This will not be going back on. Now we got to figure out how to get all this off. And I already started messing with this a little bit yesterday, but I didn't get too far. You're always finding things that you think you've got disconnected, but you don't. After about 100 screws and stuff, not literally 100, but a lot, just to get the plastic off, in order to get everything off the sides here on both sides, these 3-piece top on this, one big part up here, I'm finally ready to, I gotta remove that. All right, so now I got the light off. Just want to tell you guys, everything that I put on light-wise has a waterproof connector. You can get them by the dozens at Amazon. They're pretty cheap. And these hook together so good that when you pop them apart, you can hear the suction, you hear the pop, you know, from suction. So put waterproof connectors on all your lights. All right, guys, on this part of the cage, there's 2, 4, 6, there's 8 18mm bolts that hold this curve thing on, and you're going to lose your front support, but I've got ideas. But I can get ready to remove this now and get this piece out of the way. let's remove the cage. Squeeze a ton, guys. Probably get you some help on that. Now we got the bubble off of it.
And don't let these fall over.
All right, guys, let's finish taking the fenders off. This part of the plastic off, because what this is hooked to is funny. I don't like it. There's not really any support on this back bar. And when I take it off, you'll see what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, all the bolts have to come out here to get everything off, because I need all this plastic off to show you what's behind this. All right, so because of my height, when I sit in the unit and you look at the level, when I sit here, I've got about 5 inches clearance from the top of my head without a helmet to here. So I will not be cutting this height down any. All I'm gonna do is take this straight and then tie it back into this. So I'm probably gonna leave this part on and leave this part on. Just change this bend right here to make it come straight out and then break down. I think I'm about ready to cut. All right, guys, so I pulled up 16 inches to here, 16 inches to there, 16 1/4 from this bar to here, and the same thing on the other side. I'm going to cut this section out because I can't go any lower, which I'd like to, but I can't. So what we're basically gonna do is just try to make it straight. I'm gonna bring this piece up till it's in level with this and then tie it in here to make this part of the roof flat and, you know, up here. I don't like that big hard hat work area looking thing. Rule 1, when cutting glasses, protect your eyes. Those of you who choose not to, that's your decision. So, guys, I'm in it now because I'm getting ready to cut. So here we go. And I'm using a Sawzall. I'm using a fine blade. Craftsman, of course. Oh, I'm going to do it. And that's the first part. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. Guys, you ever heard that you stepped in some doo-doo? I'm in it now. We have to grind all the posts down before we put our sleeves in like I put in over there. Now those are 1 1/4 ID steel pipe. I cut a notch out in the center and then clamp it together. It barely fits in there. We'll slide them in. That's why I'm putting the rosebuds. I changed my mind on these. I'm gonna go ahead and put sleeves in here and sleeves in there. I don't want a bung here. I want this to be one piece. When I take it off with that part, take it off, and I'll put a bung on the back end is what I'm gonna end up doing. So let's get to grinding. So this piece of steel here is going to come out. I'm going to put a bullet on the end. Same thing on that one. These right here are going to join with this. I'm going to put a bar across this in here somewhere. Turn these into bullets. This is going to be a bar going across from this one to that one. And then I'm gonna end up putting another bar from here to there, putting my typical V in the line, or however you want to do it. All right, guys, so one thing I gotta do on each one of these pipes I'm going to be welding to my rack is I gotta drill rosebuds. When the rosebud is a hole in the pipe and a hole in the pipe, then I stick my sleeve in. I'm gonna stick a 5-inch sleeve, which will give me about 2.5 inches on each side as an extra strength for it. So not only will I have the butt joint from pipe to pipe, but I'll also have the rosebuds to help weld up to make it stronger. So here we go. Okay. Now, since this pipe is a little thicker than the chrome moly, I'm gonna have to grind it down so it's tapers down to where it looks more like a match. Okay, now I'll show you how I make the point and how I do the measurements. So depending upon how big of a point you want, I pull in 3 inches. I'm dealing with an 1.5 inch ID steel pipe. 3 inches it is, and I'm just going to rotate the pipe. This does not have to be perfect. There's no rocket science in it. There you go, it lined up pretty good. Now I'll take the pipe and I'll lean it up and I'll mark all 4 corners evenly, what I think is even, because it's just an eyeball. You're never going to get it perfect, or you could if you want to break out all them tools, but I choose not to. Now you have your 2 lines here. You want to try to find the center of those. Like I said, it can be all done by eye. It's totally up to you. Like I said, but at the end of the day, when you're done beating this together and then you weld it up and grind it, it's going to look fine. The most people that'll find a problem with what you've done is you yourself. So just enjoy it while you're doing it. Oh, and also keep a nice set of blades for your Sawzall, because you will be going through a lot of them. Me and myself, I prefer Linux, but everybody can use what they want. Now what I'm going to do is I can do it by hand to demonstrate for you, but if it were just me doing it, I wouldn't be doing this, but I'm just going to do a line like here. See, I'll be doing something like that. See, I'll be making a V, and I'll be doing the same thing from this point to 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 this point and this point. So then when you cut all these X spots out, it turns into a point. That's how I make my points. You get the point? So now we're going to cut from this point to this point. Let me get the ladder in here a little closer so you can see that. Okay, so we start straight first to get your first notch. Now, if you remember as a kid growing up, there were certain things you were told not to do. Don't eat the yellow snow, right? Well, don't pick up this hot steel with your hands after you just cut it, because you will burn yourself. Now, we'll take the hammer, just like I did before, and hitting in this part of it to get the whole point to turn down. And before you know it, you have a nice point. Like I said, you don't have to worry about these gaps or them gaps. Once you weld them and grind it all down, it's gonna look like a regular point. Let's move on to the next section. All right, guys, now I'm gonna pop these pieces of pipe that I've ground down here and made my points on, pop them back on. It's gonna go on easy. And it did. Now, something that's important here for welding purposes, to make sure both pieces are beveled, so that way when this is welded, it's a nice clean reveal. All right. Now I'm gonna go pop the other one in on the other side. Hey guys, so now I took it upon myself to grind this all down and work on these, you know, my rosebuds on the bottom part here. So I'm gonna push this in, and one thing you're gonna notice is that they're not lining up. They will. Trust me, they will. Okay, so now I got these on. You can see the piece of steel on the inside, piece of steel in all these. They're gonna be rosebud welds to weld that sleeve. Now I know there's a little bit of rosebuds, okay, to these sleeves. I know there's a little bit of difference in thickness here, but by the time this is welded and it's all sanded down, it's gonna work fine. Now, if you're wondering why these don't line up, because I got this loose so I could spin it, but I need to be able to mark this. This cut here, I have to do by eye. Here's how I do it, okay? I don't say this is the way everybody does it. First thing I do is I mark where the bottom of the pipe is, all the way across. That's not where you're going to cut it. All right, guys, I'm not a teacher, but I'm going to try to do this. So the reason I made the level line on this, on both sides, is because that is where this pipe that's coming across the top is going to cradle in this pipe. So the points of contact from the pipe coming across, because I want it to cradle, is this point right here and this point right here. These points here on the sides, dead center, is going to be up. So it comes around this pipe. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and set this one up and start cutting it and grinding it. And you'll see what I'm talking about when I get done here. Now you'll start to get the point. Well, I made this lower and this higher and this higher. It's going to need a cradle. So now at this point, what I have to do is take my regular grinder and clean all this out in here so it's a nice smooth transition. This is going to take a few minutes, so just bear with me. Now we got to clean this out at an angle so it'll rest and make these walls real thin, because that's what the pipe needs to sit in there, but match the thickness. Now we'll set a piece of pipe to it and see how the cradle's coming along. I'm not sure if you remembered what it looked like when I started, but now you can see why I'm cutting it. There's a cradle. This part's higher than the parts that touch the pipe. See? Starting to make a cradle. And it's going to look the same way on both sides. It's just a matter of me cleaning the joints out. Just bear with me and I'll get it nice, as tight as I can. But remember, just remember one thing. The weld's going to hide a lot of the gaps that you're going to have, especially if you're not, this is not what you do for a living. And I definitely don't do this, even though I'm a pipe fitter plumber. Doesn't mean I make roll cages. So just take your time and you'll eventually get it. All right, guys, for some reason I keep messing up with my camera. You missed me tacking up that side. I'm going to continue tacking on this side. I'm using my titanium MIG welder that I got from Harbor Freight, which is a great little welder. Plenty hot, penetrates the steel really nice. I've leveled both of them up with each other just with my eyes, because it doesn't matter, guys. Let's be clear, it's a roll cage and they are pretty good. So I put 2 tacks on this one. Them are all tacked up all the way down. I'm gonna put a 3rd tack here. I did catch my shirt on fire, as you can see. It's my fault, my stupidity. So I'll put another tack down here, and then I'll go down here and fix this. Then I'll get this cupped in. Pay attention and see what we can learn together. By the way, this shield is titanium as well. It's got the instant flash. As soon as something flashes, it darkens out. I can see you plain as day until I arc. All right. you saw it, I'm gonna hit a couple of the rosebuds. That's the holes I put in the pipe with the sleeve inside of it. If you've never welded before, neither have I, so I'm lying. If you accidentally burn a hole in the pipe with a MIG welder, it's easy to just do a little tap, and a little tap, and it'll fill your hole back in, because I'm notorious for blowing holes in the pipes. Okay. Now I'm going to, since this looks really good now, I'm going to cup this so it sits nice and even in there, but gotta make sure that it stays straight here as well. It needs to be turned just a little bit, like that. And like that. And that's right over top of the fender. That's right over top of the fender. I'm going to tack this part first on this side. Okay. They both look slightly, which is okay. A little too much cock to it. I got to pull it out just a hair. Since it is just tack welded, it's easy enough to move. Much better. It looked pretty good going up and down. Okay, now it's time to put them together. I've got to do a measurement to make sure my cage is the same. I'm going to measure from this point where it touches to this bar right here. I have about 26, and just about a half from this point to this part of the cage. This is just my way of trying to square everything up. about 26 and 5/8. Close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades. Quarter inch don't mean nothing to me. Okay. Make sure my bars look straight. Look pretty okay to me. I'm happy. Doesn't matter if anybody else is, because I'm the one doing the welding and I'm the one doing the riding. Woo, that got hot. This is why we do a lot of stick welding, because MIG is not just right for this, in my opinion. Now guys, I got to find my hammer so I can beat the crap out of something. As I'm liking the way this is looking. Ah, right here in front of me. No wonder I couldn't find it. If it had been a snake, it'd have bited me. So I need to tap this side. I need to tap this side in so it's a little bit tighter to the gate, or to the bar. That's better. My welders didn't break. I'll tap a little bit more here. Okay. Put my hammer back where I can't find it. Let's crack a little bit more on that. You know, guys, I don't know if it means anything, but the good thing is all I have to do is tack it up. I have someone else doing all the welding for me. This is where I'm going to conclude this video. I will go ahead and upload this section. This is going to be part 1 of the roll cage. This is going to be part 1 of the roll cage. So, guys, let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, subscribe, like, dislike, whichever one you want to do. Guys, it's totally up to you. So, till next time, peace out, God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.